democracynow.org. We are breaking with convention, war, peace, and the presidency. A whole week from the Democratic convention, as we did in Cleveland with the Republicans, expanded 2-hour daily broadcast this week from Philadelphia. That's where the Democratic National Convention is taking place. Our guests at this hour, as we talk about the Hillary Clinton-Tim Kaine candidacy, are Jess McIntosh, who is with the Clinton campaign. She is the Director of Communications Outreach for Hillary Clinton, and Norman Solomon, coordinator of the Bernie Delegates Network, delegate from California. So Jess raised this issue of Hillary Clinton, a woman candidate, would be the first woman president. Norm Solomon.
Well, you know, the hagiography leaves a lot out. I doubt that tonight or during the week we'll hear that she was a Barry Goldwater enthusiast. She said she still is proud of having been a Barry Goldwater supporter in 1964. I'm talking about Hillary Clinton. In 1968, and then on from there, she said at one point when her husband was governor of Arkansas, well, for gosh sakes, all lawyers have to represent banks. On the board of Walmart, on and on and on. At their most horrible era of Walmart union busting and anti-employee operations, did not raise her voice. But all that said, I think we've got to look at the fact that in swing states, voters will decide whether Donald Trump becomes the next president of the United States. And we have to recognize that with all of our necessary challenge to Hillary Clinton and the forces she represents, in swing states, from a progressive standpoint, if you want to stop the neo-fascists, as Noam Chomsky said, the way to do it is you hold your nose and you vote for Hillary Clinton.
So not so much excited about the first woman president, then? Well,
Margaret Thatcher was a woman, as far as I know. I'm not excited about Thatcherism and the decimation of the working class in Britain.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to be able to understand that Hillary has always centered women and families in her politics. She did it as senator, she did it as Secretary of State, she did it when she decided to become a lawyer for the Children's Defense Fund before, when she got out of law school. She did it when she worked for the McGovern campaign. And I think sometimes our movement doesn't give that work the same amount of credit.
Would you say that she did that when she pushed for the welfare reform of 1996 that decimated the families of poor women and children? Do you think that was advocacy for women?
Norm, I think that she did a lot of really good work as First Lady to put women and families first, too. I also think that now is the time for this debate to be done, just like your candidate says and my candidate says.
Well, there's a difference between candidates, even the best ones, and we love Bernie, and grassroots movements. We're not going to pipe down, as Bernie said, all significant social change comes from the grassroots. It doesn't come from the top.
But I don't intend to spend any of my time telling you why I had issues with your candidate or the reasons why I was so excited to support mine over yours.
There's a difference. Yours will be, we hope, under the circumstances, the next president of the United States.
Absolutely.
And we have to get in a mode of saying, not for a moment will we accept destructive policies out of some sort of misbegotten party loyalty.
All right, so we're arguing on the margins of holding our elected officials accountable, and I can be okay with that. But I do think it is important, in fact, for our movement to celebrate the fact that we have done something revolutionary. This week, we do something revolutionary.
What's that?
A woman is going to take the nomination for president from the Democratic Party, and that is a really important thing.
It's historic. Objectively, it's historic.
It's also important. It's not just objectively historic.
Well, Indira Gandhi was important, too, and she was repressive in India. We have many examples of world leaders who happen to be women who exacted enormous suffering out of their population.
You're going to vote for Hillary Clinton, I'm assuming, given what you...
When is that?
I'm assuming that you're planning on voting for her in November.
I live in California. There's no reason for me as a progressive to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Oh, all right.
If I lived in Virginia...
I was assuming that you were in the fight, but that's okay.
I am in the fight. If I lived in Virginia, if I lived in Florida, if I lived in New Hampshire, Ohio, I definitely would vote for Hillary Clinton. Absolutely.
And you don't think that it sends an awesome signal to be able to tell your daughters or granddaughters or the children of your friends that you got to pull the lever for a woman who you thought would do a better job advancing your ideals than the other guy on the ticket? I mean, I'm excited about that. And I think that's okay. More than okay. I think it's important for our movement. I think women and girls need to see us being excited about this thing.
It's a tragedy that we don't have a role model who is not corporate and militaristic who could become president of the United States as a woman.
Well, I'd like to ask Norman, in terms of the conversation we had earlier about the about Donald Trump. Your assessment of what that convention last week, the signal that it sent to the American people, and what the opportunity is for the Democratic Party to present a different perspective or signal this week?
Yes, well, I think the contrast will be very clear because the reliance on not even a dog whistle, but the amplifier voices of racism, of xenophobia, of hostility to immigrants, of misogyny in some important respects. This is a major difference between not only the conventions, but the two constituencies. And I think people on the left sometimes they forget. They start talking about, oh, we're going to have a third party and that's going to defeat Trump. Nonsense. There's not the Green Party is going to do nothing to defeat Trump. It's up to us to find tactical ways to do that. And in the case of the Republican Party, we've got to recognize those forces. People underestimate it's not just who's going to be president. They fill hundreds of cabinet and sub-cabinet positions in the courts with their constituency. To elect Donald Trump is to empower an entire nativist and racist base in this country and give them enormous power. And we've got to make sure that doesn't happen.
Norman Solomon, who will you be voting for?
I live in California. I know I won't be voting for Donald Trump. I know that I will not be voting for Hillary Clinton because it's a safe state, just as New York is a safe state.
So who will you vote for?
Well, I'm going to have to make that decision, but it won't be either one of those two.
Jess McIntosh.
Well, obviously, I'm really excited to cast my ballot for my candidate, Hillary Clinton, and I'm excited that there have been. I mean, she won so many more million, 3 more million votes than Bernie Sanders did in the primary. She got more of the delegates, she got more of the super delegates, and this is the week that we're all going to come together, and she's happy to talk to the people who went the other way, and I think we're going to carry on those conversations, and it's going to be a really unified party going forward.
And what can we expect at the opening today, Norman Solomon? There's been a lot of talk among Bernie delegates with the gaveling opening of the Democratic convention by Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Well, I think that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, if she does speak today, will not be well received. If she's badly received, it will be well deserved. But I think she's, in a way, being made a scapegoat, appropriately so, because she's been very egregious. But wow, she represents and is working for, and now she's just shifting from the DNC over to the Clinton campaign formally, but her role is not changing. She's working for a corporate militarist candidate. And I think we recognize that as delegates for Bernie Sanders.
Jess McIntosh.
Well, obviously, I disagree entirely. I think this week is about advancing our progressive agenda, and I'm sorry that you're not on board, but I'm really excited to be here.
Well, we're going to leave it there, but this discussion will continue. Jess McIntosh, Director of Communications Outreach for Hillary Clinton's campaign, and thank you to Norman Solomon, Bernie Sanders delegate from California, coordinator of the Bernie Delegates Network. That does